Hey everybody, Simone here with Bulletproof Business Growth, as always with some ideas and insights what to pay attention to when you're growing and scaling your business. Well, happy 2025. This is our first broadcast this year. We've had some big stuff to do, so just getting back into it. And, you know, in good timing, it's the middle of January already. And I want to talk a little bit about the one thing that's holding your business back in 2025 if you don't change it, and it's not what you're thinking right now. So I want today to be a little bit of a wake-up call. And look, I know you know this, but knowing this hasn't gotten you much further. So, you know, what happens when there's a new year, it's always such a great opportunity for a pattern interrupt, for a reset. You know, it's great to have this, and it's a good start. And I know a lot of people make New Year's resolutions and they set really good intentions, but I have to ask, how are you holding up? Are you still running yourself ragged, dealing with everyday fires and mistakes, and wondering where the madness is finally going to end? And look, you're not alone. This is for a lot of business owners. This situation is Groundhog Day. And the question really that you have to ask yourself is, how long can you and will you keep this going until you get sick of your business, you sell, you throw in the towel, you ditch everything, you give up control, not in a good way, and then all this blood, sweat, and tears you've been putting into it will have been for nothing. So I really don't want this for you. So buckle up. Let's flip the script. And I want to talk about a clear roadmap to break free from this behavior, this pattern, this kind of what you're used to. So today I want to tackle the root cause for this, because it's holding so many of our business owner clients back from the growth, the profitability, and the freedom that they really started their business for. And look, what's holding you back? And I'm going to just be blunt about this, right? It's not your workload. It's not your team. It's something much deeper. And once you understand and address what that is, everything will shift. So here, let's talk about what's real. What's real is that most small business owners, their ingrained belief is if we're not constantly doing, the wheels will fall off the bus. So we've convinced ourselves that we are the only ones who can keep this ship afloat. So now we're white knuckling through every crisis, every deadline, every preventable mistake. And I want you to get really honest with yourself as we're doing a little bit of an audit here. When you think about the last year and how many things went sideways, how many of those things were preventable, and they only happened because you didn't have the bandwidth, your team didn't have the experience or the training or the preparation to do this better. So in the process of that happening, of course, you get totally bogged down in the weeds and you absolutely lose track of the big picture. And as the CEO, it's really your job to always stick with the big picture and help your team stick with the big picture by always referring back to that in everything you do. Whether it's visioning, whether it's planning, whether it's project management, whether it's creating results, all of this should always tie back to the big picture result. And the honest truth here is that I hope you hear loud and clear is it's because of your inability to let go, empower your team, and that's really the root cause that's holding you back. So when you think about the biggest excuse or reason, your biggest objection to why you change things, or why you're not changing things, I should say, is generally, and I hear this from all of our clients nonstop, it's lack of time. It's that there's always a lot of other things that seem so much more important than really shifting the way you do things as a leader in your business. So that lack of time excuse that you're telling yourself is honestly, it's the symptom, it's not the disease. The real problem here is that you are so focused on keeping all the plates spinning up in the air that you can't step back and you can't do the high level work that you really would need to do if you wanted your business to go forward. And look, I get it, because for many, the idea of delegation, training, letting go of control, it sounds like worse than going to the dentist. It's complete horrors. So because the belief here is, if as the owner, right, if you're not double checking everything, if you're not doing everything, if you're not controlling every step, if you are not owning every piece of the puzzle, the whole thing collapses. And maybe you have a great team, maybe you don't. And I hear this equally much from either side. You're not utilizing and leveraging the team the way that you actually could. So even if you do have a good team, they're not getting the opportunity, they're not getting the information, the context, all the things that they need to do an amazing job for you. And you're paying them. Many of you have crazy payroll going on, and you're not getting the results that you need. So it's all back on you. And you have to ask yourself, how is that working out for you so far? Are you any closer to your dreams? Are you any closer to having the business that you did, the dream of this business that you created this for? Or are you just still running yourself into the ground while your competitors leave you in the dust? When your true intention here really was you wanted to become the number one in your industry, but it kind of feels like every year you're further instead of you're getting after it. So I don't want to be doom and gloom here. It is the time to change this narrative. It is, nothing is better than the reason this is a new year, right? And in 2025, I really invite you to commit to becoming the visionary leader for your business. And look, that needs courage, right? That means you will need to step away from the daily grind, and you will need to start working on your business instead of in it. And of course, that only happens if you do better empowering those that could be working in your business, so that you don't have to, that you don't feel constantly like you have to step back in, you have to take back over, that unless it's through you, it's not working. So I know this can be a scary idea. And even I've talked to tons and tons of people who tell me that's exactly what they want. But then when we lay out the steps for them, what they need to do to get there, they run screaming because, again, the not enough time excuse immediately comes to mind. But there are so many other reasons for why that gets so uncomfortable that you'd rather stick with what you're doing, even though it's not getting you what you want. And my promise here really is the payoff to put in this little bit of work is life-changing. I've seen it hundreds of times in hundreds of leaders in 50 plus different industries, all different sizes, phases of business. This can be you this year. Absolutely. And that means for you, more time, less stress, and more freedom, which is why most of you got into having a business. You wanted the freedom to do what you actually love to do instead of doing it all. So that actually means now you can focus on growth, on strategy, and innovation. I mean, isn't that the kind of business that you started this journey to build? So I know this is much easier said than done. So let's talk about how do you actually make the shifts for this to happen? So let's talk about the 3 critical steps. First of all, and this one is not comfortable, I would recommend that you do a business audit. And what you really have to ask for here is, where are the bottlenecks? And this comes really looking deeply at how you're running your business. What are the tasks that you're still managing? What are the tasks that you're still micromanaging? And I know micromanaging has a bad rep, but a lot of times what it means is you just don't trust your team enough to let go so that they could possibly actually do it. So you don't actually know if they could actually do it, or you've tried it before and it didn't work out. And you got so scared that you decide in your mind you'll never let go again. So really be honest with yourself and look at what your team could be owning that you still own. Like, what are some things you could let go of pretty immediately? So don't sugarcoat it. And I want you to look at it from a place of perfection is not what we're asking for. We're asking for a way to do this that course correction becomes not just possible, but it's a huge win. Because of course your team is going to mess up. Of course people will make mistakes. That's just part of the course. But when it's done right, well, for one thing, they're not going to mess up in something that's like really horrible. But every single time they mess up is a hugely valuable learning opportunity. And if you do it right, it doesn't come at a huge cost. It actually just comes at a great gain. So this is about figuring out where you get in your own way because you're just too afraid to let go of it. So this first step, doing this business audit and finding out where you're still owning a lot of stuff that actually somebody else could do, this is absolutely step one. So figuring out where do you get in your own way. And I want to invite you to commit to every week, find 3 things in your business that you could just let go of right now. One of our clients, his name is Terrell. One of the things he did pretty quickly is after he went through the processes that we took him through in terms of looking at the kind of people he actually did have on board, where they could do more, who those people were, like who his A players were, right? And how to support them better. One of the things he did immediately was he started with Wednesday afternoons. Wednesday afternoons, he would just mark himself out. And I love this piece. He told everybody, look, I'm going to be working from home Wednesday afternoons. And you can absolutely, if you really need something from me, you can absolutely contact me. But here's the thing. Only contact me if you've already asked 3, which means ask your resources, right? Ask your peers, ask people around you, ask the people who are in your map of your RACI, which is your project management tool. So ask your people in your RACI, and if they're your resources, and if you still didn't get an answer from them, you can contact me. But here's the thing: don't text me, don't email me. You can only call me. And what was really interesting about this is the barrier of people actually picking up the phone and calling him was perceived so high that in the time that we worked together, nobody ever did it. So great way to do this. Just I would say start with looking at a time block during the week, whether it's, whole afternoon or just a couple hours here and there. Mark yourself out, let your team know you're only available for absolute emergencies, and then see what happens. You have to build strategic time, and it goes with a couple other things I'm going to say in a minute. But so that's number 1. Number 2, you want to develop an operational plan, a training plan, and a development plan for your people. So that means actually looking at your operations right now and making sure you have a yearly plan right now, you have a quarterly plan right now, and that you can help everybody on your team understand how they can support the company strategy. And look, I mean, I use this statistic all the time because it's mind-boggling to me. But 93, this is a research that Harvard Business Review did. 93% of all employees do not understand how what they're doing every day, all day long, contributes to company strategy. So help your team understand. Because when they understand how what they do all day long, how that contributes to the bigger goals, to the bigger outcomes, they can make much better decisions. So that, of course, means you have to give them the context, the clarity, the information that they need to really understand how all the pieces work together. So help them develop an operational plan with them, give them the training that they might be missing right now to support you at a higher level. And then every single person on your team, whether you have 2 people or 200 people, should have their own growth plan for the year that helps them understand how they can develop themselves over the year so that they can be more valuable, contribute at a higher level to the company, which of course means more opportunities. All right, so that's a big goal. I know that's much easier said than done, but this is something that if you actually want to grow and you want a team that's autonomous, that can actually do things without you, this is absolutely, absolutely necessary. So give them the tools, give them the resources and the autonomy that they need so that they can step up and handle more. This is where you're investing in their growth, which will also means they'll invest in your growth. Those two really go hand in hand. And if you've followed us for a while, you know my preaching on this, because it's like I just said, if you don't have a really good vision that really helps them understand the big picture, as in a 3-year strategic plan, they're going to miss a lot. Then the operational plan for the year, for the quarter, big deal. The RACI helps them understand. That's your project management tool that helps them understand what the link tree looks like. So what's the organization look like? How are they in the organization? How do they fit into the chain of command? And what do they own, right? So, and what are they absolutely responsible for? And then, of course, the other part that we've talked about a lot, and you can go back a few episodes and find a lot more information on that, is how you delegate, right? If how you delegate right now it is at that very basic level where you just tell people what to do, well, you're going to keep telling them what to do for the rest of your life. So we have to develop that to give them a new level of focus. And the other thing we preach about, or I preach about all the time, is giving them the 5 C's, giving them the clarity, the context, the confidence, the communication, and the consistency that they need to do an amazing job for you so that they can be autonomous. Now, that sounds like a really big thing, but you can start small. You can start small by defining your operational structure. You can help them understand by putting together how the projects work together. You can do plans for projects so that they get out of just task management to being able to own much bigger pieces. So, and you have to remember here is a rising tide lifts all the boats. So when you're doing better, they're doing better, and you can work together and make a much more interesting thing happen. And contrary to popular belief, most employees aren't just working with you because they want to make money. Of course they do, but they also want meaning, they want purpose, they want achievement, they want satisfaction, they want to feel like they can actually grow somewhere with you. So give them that piece because it'll serve both of you. Okay, so that was 2. And then 3, it's something I alluded to earlier, is you must carve out dedicated protective time to work on your business. And you've probably heard me say this before, if it's not on your calendar, it's not going to happen. So when you start really truly working like a CEO and you have a daily high performance plan, that means you actually know exactly what you're handling today from hour to hour that will push the needle forward. Not just busy work, but effective work. So you have your plan for the day, you do a weekly strategy session, you meet with your team on a weekly basis, you have one-on-ones, you do quarterly offsites. Like, again, big ball of wax, but you can start with one thing. Do your own daily high performance plan. Make sure you have that weekly strategy session with your team, and then make sure that they know exactly what they need to focus on. All those pieces, they're small pieces, but once you start stacking them together, they will drive big results. So blocking time in your calendar, carving out that dedicated time, it should be absolutely non-negotiable. And that's where truly the magic happens. That's where you actually can get out of the weeds, where you can live in that 30,000 foot view perspective, because that's where you want to be. You want to live up above the fray and really so that you can act like a leader. That's what enables you to chart the course forward. And that's what you want to do. And that's what your business truly needs from you. And look, I know that this isn't easy. Letting go, delegating, letting go of control, all of that is really, truly uncomfortable. And all of this requires you getting out of your comfort zone. And I say comfort zone because I know this is actually not comfortable, because otherwise you wouldn't be listening to this. You want change, but what it takes to get to the change seems more difficult than the change itself right now. So it's kind of like you'll stick with the devil you know instead of the devil you don't know. But I promise you, it is absolutely worth the payoff to make these changes, make these shifts this year. So this year, I want to invite you to say, you know what? Enough is enough. It's time to ditch the hamster wheel. It's time to really, truly start growing, doing things differently so that you can get to the business goals that you've been dreaming about. Maybe you've been working at this for a really long time and you want to plan for your exit. Maybe you're on your way to retirement and you just need to make sure that you can actually get the most out of this. Whatever phase you're in, it's all the same work that helps you to build a business that can grow independent of you. Okay? So if you're ready for this, take a deep breath and really summon your courage here, and let's get to work together. Now, if you want to find out more and get more into detail about what I'm talking about right here, I have some great new choices available for you. I'm going to put the link to our new business scaling blueprint below, and you'll have a bunch of different choices for how we can support you through this journey. So check out the link, and I will see you next time.